Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Thanks for tuning in. So today I'm working on a prototype. So I pulled Twitter. I'm trying to stream every Wednesday. I don't know if I'm going to keep this time. It's working for me pretty well. I don't know about other people. But I did a Twitter poll to see what people would want to see me stream. I've been working on a couple of things. I kind of have three kind of projects going in parallel. One is an album. It's kind of a instrumental metal synth thing. And another one is a game project that I'm submitting or trying to submit to a festival in about a week. So it's actually almost done. And then obviously the Glider Labs stuff. And so Command.io is kind of the main project. I mean, Glider Labs has a lot of open source projects. It would have a lot more, except I'm trying to get things to a certain point, sort of finish them before moving on to something else. Otherwise, things would get a little crazy. And so this is kind of related to that. Glider Labs Command.io is running on Amazon, and Glider Labs used to do a lot of consulting, and we actually used to do these kind of delivery pipelines a lot. Pretty much that was kind of one of our main things that we do for clients is set up kind of this Docker-based pipeline with basically different variables, maybe a different CI, maybe a different cluster manager, etc. So it's always been more or less some flavor of what you're about to see. And what I want, there were a couple of things that I wanted to try for Command.io. One is it would be switching to Google Cloud Container Engine. To simplify some of the infrastructure and reduce some costs, which also means switching to Google Registry and all this stuff. So I just decided I wanted to kind of revisit the entire deploy pipeline because I think it could be a little bit faster and hopefully a little bit simpler. And the best, I could try and do that with Command.io, but I really kind of believe in doing kind of throwaway prototypes. So it basically take some idea and validate it in isolation, and then you can use that as a reference for your actual implementation. And of course, you can then publish it and share it with other people without having it coupled with kind of a larger code base. So I think actually a lot of the streams that I do related to Glider Labs are going to be based on those kinds of prototypes or proofs. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. This is kind of a little picture of the general idea. It's kind of predictable, nothing too crazy here, but it's always, kind of getting the details right can be obnoxious, and sometimes these systems, testing CircleCI, for example, is kind of obnoxious. So the basic idea is we're going to do some local development. We're going to build a kind of a demo Go app. So it's not going to really do anything. Although instead of maybe a web server, I might just make it an SSH server that says hello world when you connect to it. So that's written in Go, and then we're going to package that up and build it in a container. And so one of the things I wanted to test was multistage building, because that's kind of been out for a little bit in stable Docker, and I haven't tried it yet. It's something that I've as basically the first user of Docker, it's one of the earliest things that we were kind of pushing for, and so it's nice to see it in there finally. So you can kind of do the whole build process within Docker and still produce a minimal container. So that's going to be done on CircleCI, and CircleCI specifically we're using the 2.0 version, which is a great kind of revamped version of CircleCI, which is, if you're not familiar, it's just like Travis or something like that, hosted CI, and version 2 has kind of a new config format, but it is a lot faster and has Docker kind of baked into it. And the way we usually do deployments is through a GitHub flow. So we might either have either master or a particular branch be dedicated as a deploy branch, so that when PRs go to it, when it goes into CircleCI, not only will it build it and push an image, that it'll go and deploy that to an appropriate cluster. So we're going to do that. We're just going to say master is, every time there's something new to master, we're gonna deploy for this prototype. And we're going to be deploying to Google Cloud Container Engine, which is Kubernetes. It's a little bit new to me, not Kubernetes, but the Google stuff. I'm a little annoyed that it's sort of not fully configurable with Terraform yet, since currently all our infrastructure is in an open source repository. It's kind of nice. Moving to Google Cloud will actually reduce a lot of that. We can kind of throw away a lot of code and simplify stuff, but there will be some things that we can't really model in code, and so that's kind of a trade-off. But it will be cheaper. We can run fewer machines since Google runs a master node for you, and seems to kind of do generally better on pricing for VMs. So we're also using Google's registry, which is nice. A lot of people use Docker Hub, but like for all our clients, they wouldn't use Docker Hub because it used to not be reliable. We used to use Key or Quay, but more recently we've been using Amazon's registry. So, and that's kind of annoying because you have to create, for every image, you have to create that resource before you can push to it. So that would be managed by Terraform, and that's kind of a little frustrating because then your CircleCI needs to know where that is. So if you're setting everything up in an automated fashion, you'd have to have your Terraform state exposed somewhere so that the registry can be looked up by CircleCI. So Google Cloud is a little bit simpler. It's more like Docker Hub. You can just push to it. So then for every build, it's going to push to the registry, and then it's going to deploy changes to the cluster. And a lot of people will just do like a patch to manifest. We usually just reapply the whole sort of like app definition. We usually have it in a single file. And I may or may not go that far. If we get all this working, the one thing I want to try that I haven't really is the load balancing stuff. I'd love to use something like Backplane, but because we do other protocols in HTTP like SSH, we kind of are stuck with kind of more traditional load balancing. So that's about it. If you have questions along the way, I'm going to be writing a little bit of Go. Feel free to ask questions about Go. If you're new to Go, I'd love to help anybody kind of get more into Go. Same with Docker, if you have questions about Docker. If you have questions about CircleCI or Kubernetes or whatever, just let me know. I have live chat up, so I should see it. It kind of disconnects every now and then, but I should be able to get it. And that's about it. So we'll see how much we can do in 2 hours if I can last that long. So I'm actually starting a new organization called GL Prototypes where I'm going to be doing a lot of these proofs. So this repository is called GKE Pipeline, which will be empty for now. And after this stream, I'll push everything up so that there's a reference to what we're doing. So here's the checkout of that. So we're starting from scratch, and we're going to build. The first thing we're going to do is build a simple Go application. And normally I have a whole kind of Go framework. Let's see, what should we call it? I'll just call it demo to use here, but I'm not going to use that. I can save that for another stream. So we're going to write some Go. And I usually always start with like the simplest hello world and get it to compile. I've been writing a lot of C# recently, so I might throw in a semicolon or something here and there. So I usually do go run at this point. Sure. Okay. Okay, so I said we're going to do SSH server, so we can do that with our SSH library that recently got some attention from Brad Fitzpatrick, who's on the Go team. He says this package is dope. So this is a high-level package. There is a SSH package in this sort of extended Go library in the crypto package, and it has most of the SSH, both client and server, implemented. It has sort of a high-level implementation of an SSH client, but it's a lot more work to do an SSH server, and we've been doing SSH servers for a while. And at some point, I finally found kind of the right abstraction, which it's obvious in hindsight. It looks a lot like NetHTTP. So now it's as simple as building an HTTP server. So we can actually, I think, take this and copy that. Oops. Hello world 222. And this should work. It's not going to say anything. And this, because we didn't specify anything, it's going to create a random host key every time. That's fine for now. That, in theory, it's running, and we can SSH to it. Yeah, okay, so I did have another key. Local host. So we got hello world. Connection closed. By the way, you don't see that connection to localhost closed if you're not running in a terminal, which if you don't specify a command, it will run in a terminal. I actually want to do a whole stream kind of going over doing SSH stuff because it's kind of a different protocol than HTTP, so but it's really interesting and definitely fun. So that's our hello world server. If we were to do like hello, it doesn't care what arguments we send to it. And in this case, it's not allocating a terminal, so it doesn't say connection closed. It just says hello world. Okay, so that's good enough. It's not doing any authentication or anything, and that's fine because all this is a demo. So that's our app. Now we want to produce a container that has this, and I don't have too many templates or anything like this. And plus I said that I am going to be experimenting with this multi-build stuff. So I've actually never done this before. The basic idea here is normally you build a Docker container, and a lot of the time people will build the application inside the container, but then you have to install a bunch of dependencies. Of course, that's kind of ridiculous because then all those dependencies are there when you run the thing, and then you have this kind of fairly large container that you're kind of shipping around. Ideally, you have a minimal container. Some people will do just the Go binary. You can create entirely standalone Go binaries that can run in a container without anything. But we often need to use some third-party library or shell out to do something. And so that led us to Alpine. So Alpine is a pretty popular base image. In the Docker world, we maintain that, or we kind of co-maintain it. We created this, the Docker repository for Alpine, and I forget what we're at. I think 3.6 now. And then I think how this works is we say as builder. We'll get the name of it as a builder. And actually, I think we maybe want to use like because a lot of the official images now use Alpine. So maybe we just want to do this Docker images Golang. I think the built-in image here. So that's another thing I wanted to test later on with CircleCI, because one of the great things about 2.0 is you can basically have the CI environment defined in a container, which we've used so that it already has, kubectl, kubectl, whatever you want to call it, and that's been great, except it has to pull it every time, and they have caching, but it's kind of caching per node, so the likelihood of hitting the same node is unlikely. So pretty much every time it has to pull this image, and it adds to the build time, kind of a significant amount. Looks like I could do 1.9. I think I want 1.9 Alpine. Oops, I'll just. I'm surprised Alpine isn't just the default, but I guess that's still people catching up to the greatness of Alpine. You do have to kind of adapt to it. So, at this point, in theory, everything's there to actually build the thing. So maybe what I want to do is copy everything into source, and then maybe this is weird. I haven't written a container like this in a long time. So, and then run go. Let's say our worker source, and then run go build. In theory, that should produce a binary called demo in the source directory. So in theory, that's all we have to do. I don't even have to say build it for Linux, because that's kind of what I'm used to, is building it on my laptop and then putting it in a container, in which case you'd have to explicitly tell it to build for Linux instead of Darwin. Here I don't have to do that. I'm going to test this and see what happens, just to make sure that this is all working all right. And make sure Docker's running. Docker, okay. And Docker build. I don't know if there's already something called demo. It also don't matter. I guess it doesn't matter if you do a named, I don't know, section, stage. Doesn't matter if it's the only one, so that looks fine. Pulling and extracting. Guessing because of the stream, the things are a little slower. Let's see. That's kind of one of the annoying things. Oh, look at this. Can't load package. No Go files in there. So, okay. Clearly, I've done something wrong. Yeah, I'm not in the directory that actually has this stuff. So I guess for now I'll just do this. And this should be a lot faster because everything's cached. Ah, yes. So we have some dependencies. That's another thing. I've been working in Go for a few years, but I come from, PHP, then Ruby, then Python, then, a lot of Python. And in all those cases, it's very weird to version your vendor directory. But as I've seen, it's actually worth it. So that's probably something I'm going to be doing. You don't have to do it in this demo. But for Command IO, I'm probably going to switch to that because if you're installing dependencies on every build, that takes a significant amount of time. So to speed up builds, we just include the dependencies in a vendor, and then you also get more better reproducibility by any contributor. So I need to do a Go. Actually. Yeah, I guess I'll do a Go. I'm not using any kind of package manager here, so I'll just kind of manually go get these things in the container and see how that works. So apparently Go does not have Git, so we'll have to do that. APK add, gotta do an update, and we want to install Git. You don't have to worry about cleaning up or anything because we're going to ignore this container after it's used. So that's one of the, so I was saying before, one of the most annoying things about doing ops and this kind of stuff is just like all this kind of downtime while you're waiting for a build, or you're waiting for a deployment, or you're waiting for some servers to start up or reboot or shut down, or if you're doing Terraform for your whole system to come up. They spend a lot of time trying to get things as fast as possible because fast iteration is really important. So that looks like it all worked, and in theory we could actually do DRI demo and look around in here, and there is a demo binary, and it looks like I can run it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything, but it runs, so I think that's good enough. DRI is my alias for, I have a bunch of aliases for Docker. How do you show the aliases? Yeah, this is DRI. I had this kind of side project once where I was going to reinvent the Docker CLI because it was just like there were too many common things that you would do, and it's just kind of weird. Kind of gave up on that. It's too much noise in the Docker space is part of the reason why I'm kind of moving on to kind of more interesting high level things. I mean, even the cluster manager stuff is kind of a mess. I mean, luckily we have Kubernetes, but could be simpler. Let's see here. Okay, so now we can do the second stage of this build because we get a binary, and then, you know, how does this work? Do we just do from again? So I'm going to just do an Alpine container. Maybe we don't have to name this. And in theory, you can just say source command demo and put this in. Let's put it at the root. I don't think there's anything else. You make the default command. We're going to run on 222. And I like using entry point instead of command, because you know you're building. The way I think of these containers is it's like an appliance. So if you want to run anything outside of the way it was designed, you have to go out of your way. You can do Docker run and specify a different entry point. But normally, just out of convenience, it's better to just say to find an entry point. There's some things that there used to be like start scripts and stuff like that that you would do because there might be other things. I actually had a project called Entry Kit that let you define a bunch of those common operations. So you can just kind of have that in your container and like rendering templates and running multiple processes and stuff like that. Because it's a very different situation than what you'd normally want with like a process supervisor. I don't need to get into that. But so let's see if this builds. I'm not sure how this works actually because we specify one name here. So does it tag the final container as demo? We'll see. So it looks like this is all cached. Or maybe not. Missing flag. Oh, is it like equals? It's interesting. Doesn't seem to cache that. Okay, so now if we were to do DRI, it should actually just give us it's running demo. What do we got here? Permission denied. Okay. That's interesting. I wonder if it's like a user. So this is the first time I've done this, and there might be a permissions thing. If anybody knows or has ideas, let me know. I'm gonna kind of debug this. So we've put it there. Oh, it's actually, this is a directory. We want the binary. It's one of the benefits of pair programming. In theory, also streaming is getting a second set of eyes, because it seems like the most common errors in all this stuff are simple typos. That's why attention to detail is such an important quality here. So in theory, this is running. I didn't tell it to run any ports. Let me do that, which will pick a random port for it to run on. Just make sure, what port is it running on? This port. So now I should be able to go to SSH localhost and got hello world. Okay, so far this works out quite well, and I guess maybe just to prove the point, our image size. Can you do that? Eight megs. So I have kind of a loose rule where I really try and keep it under 50 or 100 megs, because sometimes you have to have other stuff in that container. But it's just a Go binary. Go to binaries can get kind of big too, but not like. Actually, Terraform's pretty big. How big is Terraform? Well, okay, so that's not really. This is becoming harder than I thought. So it is over 100 megs, which is one of the annoying things with our image, because we actually have a single CI image that we try and share for all the projects, and so now every project pulls in this big thing. It would be kind of, so that was the other thing I was going to try with CircleCI, is instead of doing a custom image, is it might not be worth pulling a custom image, but just using one of their built-in images, not Docker Hub, but the CircleCI images, and then installing stuff on top of that might be faster than pulling a whole image, or at least equivalent. So we'll see. I'm going to start. I guess that's the next thing. So do a circle folder, and what does this look like? Everything changed recently, so I think this is using the new one. Oh, is it CircleCI? And config YAML. I like this directory approach because it lets you put other files in there that are relevant to that thing. So GitHub also has one, so you can put GitHub related special files in there. And I think we're just going to copy a lot of this, but we can do much simpler. So I'm going to have to push, I guess, to test this, huh? So this version of CircleCI also has a command line version of their kind of executor that will use Docker to run your CI tests, however this is defined, your configuration. But of course, there's lots of little things that it can't implement or skips, and so It's not totally worth it. But yeah, okay, so there's a lot of stuff that we don't really need to do. I'm going to grab about this much and start changing it. We don't need to run this. We don't. All right, so instead of working with our image, I'm going to try and use the CircleCI built-in images. Because, again, they should be faster. I don't want any of these. One of the downsides, though, is that it's not Alpine, so it's a bigger image. But in theory, oh, and this is for 1.0, isn't it? Pre-built. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think when I looked, these were not based on Alpine. But in theory, if they don't have to pull them, it's worth it for it to not be Alpine. So I'll grab one. It's like I don't have 1.9, so I might have to change that. I'm not doing anything special anyway. Well, I guess we'll do 1.8.1. And then I don't know, how do you use this? Do they have docs? Got some extra stuff in it. They don't really say much else about it. They didn't even have a link to the repository. I had found a link. Let's see here. Oh man. Sometimes. So, I mean, obviously they're doing like Debian or Ubuntu. I just want to know how to use this. I guess I don't need to specify anything else. I could specify bash. I will specify bash. It's probably there. But we're actually not even going to build in this environment. So I don't know what I was thinking. Because we're actually going to do a Docker tell it to use Docker. Let me get a better example. Set up Docker engine and then just do a Docker build there. So the reason where this will be relevant is running stuff for deploy. And again, I'm used to building in the CI because of I'm not used to using multi-stage building. In this case, I might just use whatever the default is for now, just to simplify everything. Okay, set up Docker engine, and then we're going to do, hopefully their default has Docker. We'll find out very shortly. Okay, all of this stuff is using make. But I can do the equivalent here, Docker build T. For now, we'll call it demo. And in theory, we'd be in the directory, hopefully. And I guess we can just see how this goes. So I'm gonna have to commit all this. and push to, there is an origin here, right? I guess so. Oh jeez. What? It's blocked access. Okay, because this is a different org that I just set up, so upload a new key. What's wrong with this key? I guess they just want me to like approve it. Yeah. I think that's fine. Okay. So here's the round. Okay, that's there, and then we're gonna set up CircleCI. Go to app. They changed a bunch of stuff. Projects. Add. One of my future projects is a generic UI for CIs because they're all pretty much the same. I don't even know if it knows. How does it know about my organization that I just made? I wonder if it knows. Add. No, it's not private. Invite teammates. Glider Labs. Well, what about? Oh, sure. Where is it? I'm an admin, right? This thing, the reconnect or something. Let's see, and this is a public project, and I'm in it. Member privileges. Oh, I don't know. Should really, the hell is that? Wait, oh, for like, oh, that's cool. Shared across different, so I could put like organization-wide secrets in one of these. That's really nice. So I'm not sure how to get it to refresh CircleCI, refresh GitHub organizations. I don't think this is what I want. And then I just want to make sure that this is it shows up in my list of orgs here. There's actually two. I made GL demos. I wonder if it would help to what is it? Install an app. Organization settings, GL prototypes. third-party install, GitHub apps, repository topic projects. I think I'm supposed to install CircleCI in my organization or something like that. GitHub CircleCI app, and that would, get it to. No, this is not what I want. This is the life of ops and IT. It's just setting this stuff up is so annoying. It's different all the time. That's half of what we do for clients. It changes all the time. Let's learn more about GitHub integration. Let's see. I might just have to move the. It's not even showing that other project. So I feel like that there's something else that I have to do to get this organization in here. I do have admin for those, but there are some that are not. Account integrations, check permissions. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Now, there it is. Why was that so hard? That like took all my energy. I'm like exhausted now. Not even there yet. Whoa. Have I been logged out? Or maybe there's just no projects there yet, so I need to add the project. Nope. You're not showing everything. Oh, I mean, an error script. There we go. Set it up. 2.0, please. Did all this. Do it. You're picky about that, huh? I guess I'm not specifying something I was specifying before. So, yeah, they should really just link to help in this scenario. CircleCI 2.0 docs. Configuration. What does this mean? So by what? Having this config required image. Okay, so that's, I get, okay, so they do require I don't know, man. Give me something small. Maybe I'll just use Alpine for now, you know? Okay, bash. Should be fine. I need Docker though. Maybe I should use Docker and Docker. Yeah, why not? Just to get the binary, make sure the binary is there. So in the, what is it? Docker and Docker on Docker Hub. Docker. This is now like an official this isn't what we should be using, but it doesn't have a link. I think the repository does. I don't know what Docker Hub is not very good at like updating this stuff. Yeah, yep. Yeah. Who knows? See how this goes. That was pretty fast. It's not a valid repository. Oh shit. Can't do multi-stage builds if our CI doesn't have the right version of Docker for that. Well, I didn't see that coming. This is the other thing that's just terrible. It's just like all the systems that you depend on have their own versions of things. So let's see, what could I do? Can't really do anything about what version they're running. Unless they have, I mean, they should have a beta thing, and in their beta, it gives you access to whatever the latest version. So this didn't do anything interesting. Yeah, and this happened so much more, you know, a year or so ago because it was changing so much. So it's like a new feature in Docker would come out, and then you'd just be like waiting for so-and-so project or provider to run that version of Docker, which most of the time I didn't care about. Like I didn't really use any fancy features of Docker most of the time, just the way I use it. But this in particular is such a big feature. Well, let's see. Multi-stage. I mean, I can still manually do this. That's really frustrating though. The whole point was to like simplify, but so this is what a lot of people did before. They have multiple Docker files. One is the build, one is for actually running it. You do the build in one, grab the file. It's such a stupid dance though. It's really frustrating. Okay. So this is why every DevOps person is frustrating, because there's about thousands of these kinds of things that come up. in practice. And we're going to use 1.8. Now we can use 1.9. And then run go build, so I don't actually have to do anything other than git, create it, and then grab that file. Although we could simplify this, because it's actually kind of a hassle. Let's see, you have to create the container just to get a file out of it. So one thing that I like to do is just make the default like cat out the file that you want, and then you can pipe it wherever you want. So this kind of saves some steps. In this case, I won't do this because this will first use a shell, and so then I can do something like cat, and then I can say source command demo. So that'll just output it. So let's try that. Docker build demo builder demo build. Docker file is Docker file build. And then while that's going, we can update this to just be this, and we will grab, I don't know. I guess we'll just assume demo is in the current directory. So now I can actually just do dr demo builder cat2 demo. So it didn't do the shell thing that I wanted, that I thought it would do. I guess it maybe it doesn't work that way anymore. If I do this, I guess this should work. Right. Do it again. So there's something there. Doesn't have the proper permissions, but you know, I guess we can just, to make sure, we can do that here. Run. There we go. It's just a little simpler than our. This isn't as complicated. So we want to do this first. Build binary. Thanks, CircleCI. And then build image. This is back to normal. Okay, so actually, okay, we build it, and then we have to run it. I believe we can do this. Docker run rm demo builder. Anything else we need to do? I don't think so. Let's put that in the current directory, which this expects. I think this will work. Does my alias do anything else? Nope. Demo builder. Okay. And okay, we're gonna have to do a get ignore here. And here we have my frustrated commit messages. I'll try and avoid it by just saying going back to manual multi-stage Docker build. So how do you like that? Oops. No, I'll go to the new look. The new look's fine. Air script. No. Now what? Okay, I got their config format wrong. I thought, I mean, that made sense, right? Run, command. Oh, they want to do that. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Cool, commit. But did you see how fast it was? It failed fast. It's promising. Building that binary. And then we wait. Any questions or anything? Now would be a good time to ask. Although I can also, so yeah, 2 seconds is pretty good even for, that was pretty fast. I wonder if they do caching of all the official images as well, because that was damn fast. Okay, looks like it passed. Let's make sure we've got all this. And it put it in there. So that it made the image, it didn't put it anywhere, but that's fine. So now we have our kind of build CI stuff working. It produces image. Now we want to push that image somewhere. We've got a cluster running here on Google Cloud. They have in a totally separate area their container registry. And then this whole thing, oh right, we have to install gcloud, which, you know, I think it would be fastest to install. Yeah, look at this. Download and unpack. Let's just always do that. And then, so this is, you know, do we make this part of the image or not? You know, it'd be interesting. So if they're caching official images, I wonder if they have an official image for Kubernetes or something like that. Something that has kubectl, because we don't really care about much. Oh, we need gcloud too. So we want an image that has gcloud and kubectl. It's Google, it's not an official image. does it have I mean, you'd think it would have install additional components for Alpine, create a Docker file that uses gcloud image base to add kubectl. So it doesn't have kubectl. That's just a binary to grab though. It doesn't. Like, gcloud is like a bunch of components and does like a setup and all this stuff. Oh, whoa, that's interesting. You can actually just tell it to install kubectl. So you only need to install gcloud. That's cool. All gcloud components are installed on the default images. Okay, except for Slim and Alpine. And then does it say what is in here? kubectl, that makes sense. You know, but so many people, you know, in theory, enough people use this, it could be cached. Let's see here. I mean, in theory, we could just run this in there. I think that's what I'll do. Trying to keep this super fast. Delete that ad binge. Right, we have to get to the credential stuff, which is a little frustrating. This is kind of nice because this should be fast. We'll see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Yes. Oh boy. Okay, Docker's not in it. That was pretty fast. Image cache not found. Pulling. See, look at that. Already exists. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's faster than our image. It'd be kind of nice if their components included Docker. I mean, why not, right? Yeah. Is this the one that had the... What are the other components? Optionally install any of these additional components. No Docker though. Okay, so that's now a trade-off. We have gcloud, but we don't have Docker now. You just can't win. In theory, I also considered if we, instead of doing a custom image, we do a base image, do an image based on one of the ones that they likely have cache. It will probably be a lot faster. But at that point, it's probably not that much faster than just downloading and installing, especially if it's just like a binary that's just grabbing. But now it's kind of frustrating that we're installing things like one with gcloud, and so like which one? Oh boy, do we use? So this is Alpine. In theory, we could actually do an Alpine APK add Docker. That should be good enough because we're not doing, the client should be, yeah. I have to do an APK update and stuff with everyone, but it's probably okay. I'll just do it. I'll do it as a separate thing. Install Docker APK add update Docker. Now, hopefully, I'm sure this is a recent version, recent enough to use. Install Docker. I still haven't figured out consistent commit messages. I should really get into the habit of something that is consistent and useful. Okay, so now we can probably watch it setting up, and then we install it. That's pretty fast, 3 seconds, right? And it seems to be working. I mean, it's kind of annoying. It has to do a update twice, but whatever. See, look at all this fancy G-Cloud, all this nonsense. Creating backup active, like this is stupid. It's going to be faster. Like, what is it doing right now? You think this doesn't matter, like 30 seconds doesn't matter, but that's the whole point of this. I think it's going to be better just, you know, why did it just refresh? That's weird. Oh, it closed them all. Maybe kubectl is actually on packages. Come on. Package Kubernetes, but it's in the Edge branch. All right. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to install Kubernetes, install kubectl. To install kubectl, I mean kubectl. What was the other one? A kube. There's some other way to pronounce it, not kubectl. 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 Okay, look at this nonsense. Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Install stuff. I mean, at this point, I kind of want to, because if we install Docker, not only are we pinning it, if we install Docker this way, not only are we pinning it, but we're also not having to update the APK index, and so it might be a little bit faster. So I guess we could try doing that. Where's the curl? Oh, Jesus. This used to be simple. This is what I want. Download. Where's there was a curl. God damn it. Anyway, I don't care. It's running in. Does this even know what? Okay. I don't. I just want the binary, man. Yes. Yes. Static binaries. Yes. Wait, is this Docker or Docker D? I guess they're both in there. Choose your hardware platform. Extract. 6 sounds good, sure. It's a little bigger. You know, I'm gonna go with the slightly smaller one. I mean, I'm not running 06, am I? I mean, they're not even running that on CircleCI, so MO. What is this? Follow redirects and what output? This is not my normal. I also do silent. Does this? What is O? I'm usually wanting to pipe into a file, right? In this case, I can just be like, whatever O is. I'm just gonna do SL, and I feel like I should test this, huh? On Alpine. Yeah, Alpine's not gonna have curl, so maybe I have to use wget. The busybox wget quiet. I want it to be quiet, and I want it to save to the standard out. Q O dash, and then we have tar, right? We better have tar. That's right, we do. Tar. Res. I think that's gonna do to read from standard in, which will put it in the current directory. You know, I should just do this in the bin directory, and then the same thing here. Is this the actual binary, or it's not a tar or something? So in this case, I would have to chmod plus x cube. See, this is why it's frustrating to work with CI environments. Will it work? Who knows? I mean, maybe we should double check. Looks good. Ooh. Yeah. Fail. Oh, shit, there's no SSL. Why would you do this? You gotta have that. All right, fine. This will probably be good enough. Then it'll have kubectl. All we have to do is install Docker, and this is probably cached. And you know what? I can even do this in like this, right? ctar. Change directory before operation. Yeah. So we'll do that. Use full Google SDK image. I mean, this is frustrating, and I feel like I do this way more often than I should. Because usually, once you have something working, it's like, well, that's keep don't touch it. But I'm constantly trying to, every project has different variables, different things it wants to do. But in doing this, and spending the time on doing this, we're really trying to get the simplest and fastest. See, look at this. This is already taking 30 seconds to download their full thing. So that's kind of annoying. And I'm not even sure this solved the problem. Like, we're gonna tar, we're gonna run HTTPS wget command not found, right? Because for some reason wget is not in the space image that they're using, whatever it is. All right, we're gonna go back to Alpine. In fact, let me just undo a bunch of stuff. We will just install, use Alpine, and God, at this point we could install Docker at the app kit as well. That one is OpenSSL. See, this is crazy. You'd think, oh, make a custom image, but it'll be slower to download that image than whatever it's doing to cache these things. Plus, we can always try and put this script in another, and based on this later on, but it would effectively be the same. I mean, we could also just do that too at this point. And, we might as well. I'm gonna, because we don't care what version, as long as it's compatible with whatever CircleCI is using, which is probably going to be something. I just don't see a compatibility issue coming up, and if it does, we can do something about it. Okay, this is really pushing my every time, every new CI thing is like this. for me. I don't know what other people do, if they just like magically, you know, they just get it working and then it's good. But you gotta like, oh shit, look at all this. What is this? Did wget out? Oh, what the hell? I didn't write it to file. Oops. Cool. Cancel. Like getting started in programming, one of the hardest things is setting up your development environment. Like using Kubernetes and Docker and stuff, one of the hardest things is just setting up your delivery pipeline. I'm getting off this page. I think this crashed the browser. Okay. Install tools. Pretty quick, 3 seconds. Somehow. Are we still installing that this way? Oh man, no one told me. Okay, so we're basically at the point where I have to deal with credentials, which is not fun. I guess what I want to do, I really hate this multi-layered nonsense. So I'm going to make a service account. Create a service account. And this is for, I mean, man. I guess we'll just call it a GKE pipeline project editor. Edit access to all resources. I think that's what we need. Yeah, and JSON. So using gcloud, you have to authenticate, and normally there's like, you can go to a website and all this stuff. And so the automated version of this is you have this JSON file. This JSON file acts as like a key, you know, some other metadata in it, which is basically what those PEM file format is just like a way to store metadata. So mixed feelings about like using JSON. It's like, well, there's so many formats where it's like these days it could just be JSON. Like, why invent another format for something specialized? So I kind of like that it's JSON, but it's now different to everybody else. Anyway, JSON, I have this file, and what I think I'm going to do, what I've done in the past is I will base64 encode this file, which is not huge, but then you have this really large string, and put that in the environment for CircleCI. And then in CircleCI, echo that environment variable to the file. And that works. Do I want to do that? The alternative that I was going to try was to encrypt this file with a key, a simpler key, put this file in the repository in the CircleCI directory, and then in CircleCI decrypt it with the key from the environment. And why not? It seems like it could work. It just feels maybe a little bit cleaner. I mean, it's a second step. It's like more moving parts in a way. I don't know. I guess I'm going to do it and we'll see how I feel about it. So I have this file that I want to encrypt. I'm going to use OpenSSL and do this. The in file is in downloads, Glider Labs. Yep. I should come up with a key first, right? Let's see, put this in .CircleCI. Encrypted. And then the key. I guess I'll do this in a different terminal. Off screen just to for this one bit. And come up with a key. Let's see, what would I use for coming up with a good password? I'm not thinking of anything offhand. Generate a key. It's not a key. I want a secret. Generate secret long password. Let's see what this gives us. Doesn't like that. What is this crap? Man, it really like. What the hell is going on? It's not copy and pasting. None of these are working super well. Hey, look, we can just use OpenSSL. Cool, that's perfect. I should write that one down. And what was I doing here? Okay, so we should have a oh, that's funny. Projects, prototypes. Okay, so I got this like encrypted binary file. Salted even. And I can just check really quick that that I can decrypt it. Projects. Cool. And then I need to hold on to that secret. And it's just a demo anyway, but you know, it's kind of best practices. In fact, I'm going to put that in CircleCI now. So I don't have to worry about it. What should we call this environment variable? Gcloud key. There we go. And you can see a little bit of it. So now we can decrypt it in there. So what would that look like? So after we build this, we want to authenticate with just the authenticate gcloud, and we want to run a similar command to this. Except it is in the current directory, and we'll write it out to cloud key. And so then in theory we can use that file, which looks like this. And in theory we can actually just run this and see that it doesn't error out. And then in theory it's, I mean, at that point we can do a push. So maybe we'll just throw that in there too. Container registry. Push repositories, you gotta like come up with a name and yada yada. Okay. Host name. Tag it. So, for example, Labs project. We'll call it what is this, GKE pipeline. And then we should be able to do gcloud docker push. Although one thing that we want to do here is actually use the CircleCI build number. I'm trying to, you want to remember what the CircleCI configuration for that is. It's going to show me 1.0. There we go. Using environment variables, yes, yes, yes. Please tell me your built-in ones. Build them. Similarly, Okay, so in theory, I'm going to add this encrypted file. I've never do this, so it's sort of weird feeling for me to do it this way. But it definitely makes managing the environment a little bit easier, because just having this extra file in the repository now just means the secret, is it's a smaller, kind of manageable secret. It's not like a file I have to keep around and then like basic form code. Whenever I want to access it, I just have to have, like everything else, have a API, a key, or a secret somewhere. So adding encrypted gcloud key and hopefully pushing to the Google registry. And hopefully it'll be fast. Here we go. Multi-stage is kind of a bummer, but I feel like this is the next simplest thing. Activated service account credentials. Seems like it's pushing something. It did. I mean, it's nice that at least this worked, right? So we have it up there. In 20 minutes, can I do run this on, maybe not have balancer, but I'm sure I can get it running on Kubernetes in this time. I just need to get an example. So I usually like doing this. So run directory that has ops related stuff. And here we'll call this, I mean, this is sort of the kind of everything. So I'll just call it manifest. And what was I'm trying to think of a recent project. Command.io has all this other stuff in it. So maybe I'll use it. We won't need all this config stuff, but it is a deployment, and we'll have to get rid of all this environment config. And we do want to set up a service, don't we? Can always do that later. I just want to make sure that it's running. And figure out how to do a service with a load balance afterwards. I mean, in theory, maybe I'll look it up now, because if we can just get this all in one go, that'd be pretty cool. GK load balancer. Not HTTP load balancing, but maybe we can figure out what we want to do from this. Yes, I want a TCP load balancer. They're not designed to terminate HTTPS. That's fine. We're doing SSH. Container cluster, deploy, expose as a service. Now that's going to happen. Create an ingress resource. Collection of rules. Ingress is implemented using cloud load balancing. When you create an ingress to your cluster container, and then creates load balancers and configures. Okay. So does that mean we don't need it? Okay, we do need a service. That's interesting. Oh, I mean, I guess this makes sense. Doing a node port service. This is more or less how I would do it on old pre-Kubernetes Docker stuff. We'd kind of look something like this. SSH service port 22, and this will be interesting because every deployment, it's again going to change its host key, but that's fine. This is just a demo. So I think all we need to do is create a deployment in a service. And it can look a lot simpler than this, but I'll just grab this. The app is called GKE Pipeline. How do you name? So it's like we want to name this basic ingress. How do you name this crap? Oh, it's right here. Basic ingress. No, wait. Service name. Okay, maybe it's actually this that I want. And get rid of these. We're not on AWS. This is what we'll call what we'll tag the deployment to target port. I'm guessing that's the name we give it on the. So now I have to get the actual this. Cool, all this environment stuff is there. Start here. Okay, and we name it GKE Pipeline. No volumes. This is nice and simple. And this is interesting. Usually there's no like templating for Kubernetes stuff. What we can do, I guess, is, I mean, we could do this the way like all other demos where we apply this by hand and then we have the CI just do a patch and then it's just setting a variable so it can just do string interpolation for the image value. I don't normally do that. There's no command because we're just running the entry point. So this is nice and simple. So what are we going to do here? I could, let's see, we could hard code it to start. No. Yeah, why not? We just want to see that it works, right? So I need, what do I need? Push, so we need this. Oh, it's gonna have a different build number every time. So this will actually be a little bit hard, unless we tag it latest, which I don't really want to tag it build number and latest, because even though that's supposed to be fast, because it's like, oh, it already has it. I mean, I'll do it just to see how it works with Google, because I don't normally use Google Cloud. So in that case, we would be able to do this. And is that it? This is the kind of thing I might test in Minikube first, but let's not. Let's just go for it. We've got a few minutes left. Where is the make file? Yeah. So we're going to do these two things afterwards. So it's almost like push. So push image. I'll do another one for deploy. And we'll just have it always deploy for now. This. What do you want? This. Okay. So no namespace, default namespace. The file, we're not rendering it with sigil. We're just saying run manifest YAML. So to apply it, and then we're going to wait for this deployment that we called. And watch it, I guess. All right, and we'll see how it goes. There's probably some like settings that it's not configured for. Like it's not going to know what. No, that's what the service key did. No, the service key is for authentication. Okay, yes, this is not going to work. Something's not going to know what cluster to push to and yada yada yada. But at least we can see that. So it's doing 2 pushes, and hopefully the second one is near instant, because I didn't tag it. I see, because it expects that tag to be there. Yeah, well, I guess I will do 2 commands here. How does this work? Docker tag something and something. Okay, old and then new. Old and then new. Okay, so let's see, so yeah, so what we're missing is this step that actually configures, and this isn't even for, maybe I didn't even have it up. Let's go to our cluster. Oh boy. Time's almost up. Fetching get credentials. Yes. And I remember the zone. I need to specify a zone because it's not the default. And I need to specify the project name. So it's going to look like this. Get credentials for the cluster, which is GL Demo, which is in Central 1A. But before that, we need to set the project, which I forget, but we have some notes somewhere to tell us exactly what it is. Project config set project. To Glider Labs. I think we don't even need to do all this. This is setting the default, and we had set it explicitly. Yeah. Okay, so we do all this, and get credentials. We'll set it up in kubectl, and then yeah, that should be it. You know, CircleCI had like a CircleCI deploy to Google, and it had a script kind of like this. So this is App Engine. Yes. Just want to make sure if I'm not forgetting anything based on what they said. Yeah, blah 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 blah. Project name, project ID. So they're putting all that in the environment. Okay, so they're doing an update. They're doing. It looks like they were doing a base 64 thing. I still don't know how I feel about that. Then they do activate service account. We did that, and we set the project, and then we set the cluster, which we don't really need to do, and a zone. Like if we were doing multiple commands, maybe that makes sense. Contain cluster, get credentials, cluster name. See, this is redundant because of this. We specify a zone. Okay, and then do that, and their deploy script, which is pretty much just. See, this is where they're doing a patch instead of applying the whole thing. Let me see what they got here, because all you need to do is change the image. Although I like being able to like update the whole manifest. So they do push, and they do this. I'm not sure why, but maybe that's a good idea. And we create it. I don't know. I'm going to do without that and see if this is working. So this should be fine. I think this is pretty good. What did we do? Tag. Tag image with latest. And properly set up gcloud. to configure kubectl. See, remember, where is it? Remember, it seemed so simple, and I told you it's all these little details that makes this very difficult. Of course, I had to spend the extra time to get everything as fast as possible. And in theory, I could spend time and try and get this even faster. Because as things always work out, it's always just going to get slower. People are going to add stuff. You always want to start with the fastest possible. Building the image. So we tagged it, and so now it's going to do 2 pushes. Hopefully the second push is just like, hey, we've seen this before, cool. So we updated this stuff. It looks like it seemed to be okay. It's actually doing stuff. Holy shit. Well, it ran. It rolled it out. I mean, even the ingress thing was created, so in theory we should be able to go. So let's connect. Is this going to tell me to do proxy? Yes, it is. Fine. Just to get some info, because we've got a service, right? So this external endpoint is created by this ingress. Is that correct? Is that how that works? I haven't used ingress stuff yet. Okay, internal, external. Yeah, it makes sense. Probably just want to hit this up. It's gonna be like HTTP. It's not what I want, bro. With 1 minute to spare. Oops, that's not what I want at all. We should just be able to SSH, and I'm gonna do a command just so it doesn't. Fuck it. Connection refused. It's 8 o'clock. Well, that's interesting. Google, what exactly did you do or not do? I followed your instructions. Okay. I don't know what that's all about. Last applied configuration. Right. I mean, it looks like it's linked up because, oh, 35, 108. That's different. Are they not connected somehow? GKE pipeline. Ingress. GKE pipeline. Service port. I'm not entirely sure what it expects, because it wanted a port, but like, does it want that one? Also, what is with this external endpoint? Is this like I guess it's a non-load balanced endpoint? I guess I'll look at the docs. I mean, I guess this is extra. I mean, we can look to see that in theory it's running. Unfortunately, we didn't have any output, so we can't actually see that it's running, but I mean, it did an error, so it's probably running. So it's running. And with some modifications, we can get it to basically use a specific build image. And if I figure out this load balancer stuff, then I'd actually be able to connect to it. But I'm going to stop there because it's been 2 hours, which was, I did think it would take 2 hours, hopefully less, but man. So, you know, now we've got kind of a continuous delivery. And like I said, for almost every project and most clients, it more or less looks something like this. When we didn't have Kubernetes, it was a little bit more complicated, but it still was the same like structure. It was still the same shape. You know, ultimately it's pretty simple, but you know, like you saw, there are a lot of details to it. So I think I validated. So we're using the two-phase thing. We found out we can't do that on CircleCI for now. It's just really frustrating, but at least we came up with something that was pretty good. We have pretty fast CircleCI builds, so that's pretty good. You know, I could spend some time trying to optimize it a little bit more, but this is deploying. Where did it say Q finished? I mean, I guess it's, where's the aggregate? Did I miss it? So it's going through everything and actually deploying within a minute, and that's pretty good. And trying this whole encrypted key thing and using Google Cloud. That was the first time I've done a pipeline like this, so hopefully it was helpful, and I'll do another poll to see what we can stream next week. Hopefully it's game development related, because it's a little more fun. So until then, I don't know, see you on Twitter. Tell me if this was helpful. Bye.